How many Jotos does it take to start a podcast?
3.
Alejandro,
Joaquin,
and Charlie.
amid a pandemic, 3 brown queer men from Los Angeles connected through laughs, tears, and joterias.
Yeah, but that was so last year. A lot has happened since season 1. Now we're coming at you bigger, better, y con más orgullo.
you are about to listen to some of our personal experiences as 3 brown Jotos.
Jotangeles, agarren sus bebidas, sus chucherias y subanle a volumen porque se va a armar.
Hey everyone, this is Alejandro. Welcome to another episode of the 3 Brown Jotos.
What's up, everyone? This is Joaquin.
Hey everyone, this is Charlie, and on today's episode, we will be discussing urban planning with our special guest Ulises Gonzalez, whom I've known since high school. You know, as you know, I've been on this MPH journey this past year, and so that's why I thought this topic was important to me and important to share information. So right now, in my recent semester, I'm learning about critical issues in urban health and how urban health affects urban planning, from everything to pollution, health resources, mental health, and so on. So I figured what a better way to discuss this information with our special guest, Ulises, who is raised in East LA, queer, like us. So welcome, Ulises.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Bienvenidos,
Very
bienvenidos.
excited to have you here.
So tell us a little about yourself, Ulises.
I was born in Mexico. I came here when I was 2, and I was actually undocumented for the most part of my childhood. I went to Garfield High School, graduated in 2002. I was 17 when I went out to UC Santa Barbara, and then I took a year off and I went to go work with the Department of the Interior in South Dakota. That was my first job, working for parks. Then I got into grad school and I came back to the Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for my master's in city planning. And then after that, I got a fellowship and I got to go work for in Washington, D.C. And it was a fellowship with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute. And I was working at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Soon after that, I worked for a Latino civil rights organization called LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens. I was there for about 4 or 5 years, I think. And then when the economy got better in 2005, because prior to that, getting a planning job was really, really hard. So I applied for the City of Planning of LA and I started working for the City of LA. So I kind of been snaking around I snaked around a lot of my 20s and early 30s. And now I'm doing planning for my neighbor, for my hometown. So I'm really happy to be doing that.
Yeah, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. I feel a little naive about this subject. I'm not even going to lie. I was like, Charlie, what? Like, can I get these questions beforehand? Porque no sé nada. Like, en serio, like, I get the gist of what's happening here, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about, Ulises, a little bit about the role of a city planner. What are the skills needed? I know you talked briefly about like your education journey, but maybe let's start off with what is a city planner? What are the roles of a city planner?
That's a really good question. And actually, like, I did not even know what was a city planner until my last semester at college. I took a class in urban policy issues. So essentially, an urban planner is a professional that kind of combines many different disciplines together. But I think it comes down to, I think, 3 tasks. One is long-range planning. Long-range planning is when you create policies, maps, and zoning, and it kind of creates like the constitution of how the city is going to look in the next 20 years. So that's the long-range plan. And these are documents that are adopted through the city. And then there's also project planning. So that's when you are reviewing like the architectural plans or a project, and you apply the architectural laws, the zoning to the project, and that's considered project planning. So there's long-range planning, project planning, and then the other part, I would say the administration, the government affairs, the grant management, the personnel. So I think those are the 3 different components of planning. The 6th Street Bridge would be like a city infrastructure. So I think that's city's engineering's department that does that. But I think it's an iconic bridge. It's iconic architecture. It's creating an identity, a sense of place for a neighborhood, for Boyle Heights. And I think it's an investment that the city has made in the East Side.
Would you say that it's creating an identity or adding? Because I would kind of say that, the identity of Boyle Heights and East LA has always been there. And, the community has always been there. But I do say the addition of it and how that could bring in a different type of vibe. But I don't know, the whole thought of like it creating an identity is a little challenging for me.
I mean, you have a good point. I think East LA Boyle Heights has its own identity already, but this is new. It's a new built space. Yeah. If you take a picture and now you're going to be doing Hollywood, that's like a new built environment.
And I think that's why, kind of what Joaquin's saying, it's always been there. And I think that's why people are excited to have this bridge. That's why we're taking over. That's why there's a barber cutting hair in the middle of the street. That's why there's all these takeovers. And I think it's just, it adds to the image of East LA Boyle Heights. And I love it. I don't like how much the city spent on it, but I do like the new bridge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's real, right? Like the money spent on it and the way that impacts community is real also. But if we think about, and I think that kind of brings up the question that I want to ask too, is like, how do the people in your role or like city planning, organizing, how do you collaborate or partner, or discuss like these things, one, with like other folks in different disciplines, right? Like, how is it that you bring in other architects and other like, or those kind of ways? But also my question is also like, how do you bring in community into the planning process? What's community's role in like decision making and those things and this?
So in urban planning school, we're always trained not to be environmental determinists. We don't know everything. I think in the past, historically, planning has been like, we're going to paint the city and this is the way it's going to be. And look what happened in Boyle Heights. The freeways came in, we disjointed communities. But yes, we do a lot of interdisciplinary work. We do work with the Department of Engineering, the Department of Transportation, the Bureau of Street Services. Like if you think of the city, like every single portion of it has another agency. There's a whole agency that is dedicated to urban forestry that manages the trees. Department of Public Works does the parks. So we do a lot of collaborations with different agencies, but also we always have to be on call and kind of be knowing with the trends. So professors, we partner with different universities to do research, with consultants. And then I think the most important part is collaborating with the people who live in the city. They are the experts, right? So I think as a planner, doing community outreach and listening to folks is a really important thing to do. And because it really kind of informs and guides our work and our policies.
And how does that look like? How does community engagement look like in the type of work that you do?
Good question. I think it could be better. I think a lot of the traditional work that we do comes from, okay, we're going to do a project and we're going to send like a 500-foot radius a notification. And then we'll send an invitation to a public hearing. Come give us your thoughts about this project. How can it be better? So that's a way to get involved in project planning. When we're doing a community plan update, that's a wider like communities. I think in the city of LA that we have 35 community plans because the city's so big. So for example, right now, Boyle Heights is going through a community plan update. And that whole process, it's the legislative process. So we have to take the project from the beginning to the end. So we have public hearings. We have commission hearings, city council hearings. And before that, we also have community events.
Kind of going back, Ulises, to like, what are your ideas? In my head, as you guys discuss this, my thoughts are like, is the information that you guys are producing or disseminating, is it in different languages? Is it in Espanol? Where are you going to disseminate it? Are you going to let la tiendita on the corner? Are you going to where the little tianguis is at? Like, where is this information being disseminated so that people that don't necessarily show up to these meetings can actually show up to these meetings and maybe feel safe? Because that's another level on it, right? Maybe they don't feel safe going into a space where it's like, ay, no, aquí van a estar los de la ciudad, and quién sabe que los van a decir, and like, because neighborhood to neighborhood is very different and very complex differences in the community that live there. So I'm just curious if like those types of materials are produced.
Yes, I think that's a really good question. And I think as an urban planner, then you have to kind of wear like a couple hats. Like first you become I think one of the hats we wear is become a demographer. So some of the first step that we do is, depending on the neighborhood, we analyze the who lives there, the demography. What is the background by race, by where were people born? Like in Wilshire Westlake, we have people who speak Purepecha. We have Native people who a lot of concentration of those of Native American speakers. In K-Town, we have Korean, we have Spanish. So depending on the neighborhood we go, and if there's like a concentration. I think by law, if there's a certain amount of people who speak that language, we have to, by law, produce materials in those. So we do that. I think that's the minimum that's that's the bare minimum, right? And then also, we identify community events. And I think this is why being a planner who are POC, who know their community and are able to go to those places is so important. But I think going to those events is easy. Going to the grocery store is easy. What else can we do, right?
Yeah.
Can we canvas maybe? Survey people? Maybe that's a new idea that I don't think that's something that we traditionally do, but we could.
With that said and done, this is Three Brown Jotos.
Out.